Federal government reaffirms commitment to crude and refined product sales in Naira initiative.
Federal government sets May 1st, 2025 for takeoff of Nigeria's new e-visa policy.
Minister of Finance craves for strategic harmonized trading in West and Central Africa.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on the NIPR Spokepersons Summit.
NIPR, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, convenes and plays host to the second edition of Spokepersons Summit from the 14th to 17th of April 2025 at the Abuja Continental Hotel.
Well, Ademola, and the event will welcome spokespersons across Nigeria, public relations professionals, scholars, practitioners in the public and private sector. Of course, that's in addition to the civil society.
That's true, Victor. The second edition of the National Spokespersons Summit is a capacity building program of the Institute aimed at installing decorum in the country's communication ecosystem. And
this particular event will feature two very important programs, which is the unveiling of the Spokespersons Charter, Code of Practice, and a special interactive session to be addressed by former ministers of information.
And indeed, the theme for the 2025 edition, Integrity and Evolving Roles of Spokesperson in Leadership Communication, is apt. I am Ademola Adeoye. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
And I am Victor Azu. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we are reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. Just in a moment, the news highlights will come to you, and later on, the newspaper review. First, let's join Mina Daniels for the morning news. Good morning to you, Mina.
Good morning, Ademola and Victor. Here is the morning news. DIG Operations of the Nigerian Police Force, Kwazi Dali, is calling on Bokos community in Plateau State to report suspicious movements to security personnel for action. This was while addressing people of Herti in Bokos local government area of Plateau State.
A unit of mobile policemen has already arrived Bokos, as directed by the Inspector General of Police. A platoon of the Special Intervention Squad has also arrived Bokos, with the equipments combat ready to go after these bandits.
Nigeria's new e-visa policy is set to take effect on May 1st, but it's not just about dates and deadlines. It's about how two key ministries are working hand in hand to ensure a seamless rollout. A meeting between Ministers of Interior and Aviation reflects a pattern this administration is becoming known for.
Once it shows there that you have overstayed, the airline, by the protocol the NCA will give, we refuse to board you and refer you to immigration. And then they will decide at that point to fine you or blacklist you.
We have also agreed that the e-visa will make it easier for people to come into Nigeria while enhancing the security of our country.
The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Dun, is advocating for strategically harmonized trading activities in West and Central Africa to maximize the region's economic prospects. At the fourth conference of World Customs Organization for West and Central Africa in Abuja, the minister pinpoints peer review mechanism as an approach that will help achieve the targets.
Opportunities and challenges ahead. And customs are important in Nigeria. We not only have an unprecedented opportunity to boost intra-African trade, we have an urgent necessity to do so.
The House of Representatives Committee on Customs and Excise has expressed dissatisfaction with the slow pace of work and quality of ongoing construction of the Nigerian Customs Service Training College in Ogun State. This follows an inspection of the project by the committee in continuation of oversight visits to customs formations and facilities.
This is a priority project that Comptroller General of Customs asked me and my committee members to check. But the controller does not even know it's in his command. It's unfortunate we have that kind of person as a controller of a command.
The federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to the continued implementation of the Crude and Refined Product Sales in Naira initiative. At a technical subcommittee review meeting, the Minister of Finance, Wale Dum, says the initiative is a strategic policy aimed at strengthening local refining, enhancing energy security, and producing the demand for foreign exchange in the domestic petroleum market. The committee focused on reviewing progress made so far and addressing emerging implementation challenges. Stakeholders unanimously emphasized that the initiative is not a temporary or stopgap measure, but a core policy directive of the Federal Executive Council. And those are the news highlights. Good morning, Nigeria continues with Ademola and Victor after this timeout.
I am Oluremi Tinubu, the global and national Stop TB champion. Many people have asked why I've chosen to champion the fight against a disease like tuberculosis. My reason stems from a deep personal experience. I once had a friend who unfortunately fell ill and concealed the nature of his sickness until it was too late. Eventually, after he passed, we discovered he had tuberculosis. Sadly, due to the stigma and discrimination surrounding the disease, he would not speak up or seek for help. His death was a painful reminder that we could have intervened and saved a life if only we had known earlier. Tuberculosis is an airborne disease that primarily affects the lungs, but can also impact other parts of the body. Being airborne means anyone, regardless of their social economic status, can contract it. In Nigeria, one person dies of TB-related illness every 7 minutes, amounting to 206 deaths every day. Globally, one person succumbs to TB every 25 seconds, which is a staggering 3,456 lives lost daily. These deaths are entirely preventable because TB is curable if detected and treated early. If you or someone you know has been coughing for 2 weeks or more, coughing up blood, experiencing night sweats, or losing weight drastically, it might be TB. Please visit the nearest government hospital or primary health care center for proper diagnosis and treatment. TB treatment is free in all government and some private health facilities. Let us also remember not to stigmatize or discriminate against TB patients or those who have been treated for TB. Individuals who have been cured of TB cannot infect others. I call on all stakeholders, especially the private sector, to join us in the fight to end TB in Nigeria. Together, we can make a difference. Remember, TB anywhere is TB everywhere. End TB by 2030. Yes, we can.
Have you heard the news? The federal government of Nigeria, through its direct benefit transfer program, has started the disbursement of 75,000 naira per household in 3 installments of 25,000, 25,000, 25,000 naira. Each recipient must have a validated national identification number, NIN, to receive the payment on behalf of their household members. To benefit, your household must be in the National Social Register of Poor and Vulnerable Households in Nigeria. The federal government's direct benefit transfer program is helping to reduce the effect of suffering while promoting financial and economic inclusion for the poor and vulnerable population in Nigeria.
Ìjọba fún wa ní 75,000 NIN ní àti káàdì láti lọ gbà nígbà tí mo sì gbà mo fi ṣe nǹkan tó dáa mo ra oògùn nínú rẹ̀ mo ra oúnjẹ tí màá jẹ nínú rẹ̀ mo sì wọkọ̀ mi náà ń bẹ a sì fi yòókù ṣe ọ̀rọ̀ ajé pé káàtó máa rí dé bá a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ìjọba wa òkè.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, in collaboration with the National Social Investment Programs Agency, National Social Safety Nets Coordinating Office, and the National Cash Transfer Office.
The new Happix sachets. It has a thick formula, so all you need is just one sachet for your toilet bowl. It gives 10 times better cleaning and big savings too.
Wow, Helen!
Sparkling clean toilet with Happix sachet.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
The Nigerian national flag represents our country's history, culture, and identity. It was designed in 1959. The colors are Emerald Green 2.0, which represents agriculture, and Immaculate White represents unity and peace. Know how to handle our flag. Illuminate the environment or don't fly the flag overnight. Do not fly a dirty or tattered flag. Take such flag to the nearest National Orientation Agency office for proper disposal and replacement. The national flag can only be flown at half-mast on the directive of the federal government. The national flag must be flown at the same or higher height when displayed alongside other flags. Don't burn or allow the national flag to fall on the ground. Do not print, decorate, modify, or insert the coat of arms on the flag. Our national heroes are not buried with the flag. They are honored by presenting it to their next of kin during interment. Respect our national flag. Be a real Nigerian.
This message was brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Nigeria is perched on the treasure trove of solid minerals. Gold, coal, tantalum, tin. But none is more critical to our future or the world's future like lithium.
Let's talk about illegal mining operations. What is our strategy?
Thank you for staying with us, and it's time for newspaper review.
Well, our newspaper reviewer Chukwudi Okoli Ugbaja is here. Chooks, how are you this cold morning?
Good morning, how are you?
Great.
I was not supposed to be here today, but for some reason, the trip got cancelled. I'm happy to be here.
Well, the universe at work.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Because if I don't see your face, I'm not sure I'm smiling.
Victor.
Good to see you.
Flattery will get you everywhere. I think it was Bimbo Loide who told me that in class.
Let's begin with the Daily Times. And the lead story here reads, INEC acting chairman, Olumekun, assumes duty, meets LP delegation. Yes. And towards the bottom of the front page of the Daily Times, UBTH detains mother newborn baby over inability to pay medical bills. That story is on page 11. And 150th IPU assembly ends in Uzbekistan as Nigeria advocates increased defense budgetary allocations to curb global insecurity. And back home in Plateau killings, police high command deploys assets, tactical squads to contain crisis. That one is on page 12. I guess that's the much that we can take from Lagos, but just before let's take this last one. Tenure elongation, Showore protests Egbeto Okun's continuous stay as IGP. That story is on page 2. And off to this Nigeria we go. The latest story here reads, insecurity, tackle poverty, stop over-scrutinizing defense budgets. At Interparliamentary Union meeting, Nigerian Senator Ibrahim warns insecurity may rise if countries fail to increase defense spending, address rising poverty. Of course, this story is linked to the other one from the Daily Times. And beside the nameplate, repositioning of Nigeria's textile industry key for sustainable growth. That's according to minister. To find out which minister, details on page 15. And then the picture story here details Senator Victor Ume, Dati Baba Ahmed, Peter Obi, Abia State Governor Alex Oti, Senator Nenadi Usman during the Labour Party NEC meeting in Abuja yesterday. To other matters, Rivers Ijaw People's Congress knocks INC Okaba over attack on Wike, says constructive engagement will resolve crisis. Administrator appoints 23 local government bosses, constitutes new boards of agencies. And finally, from this Nigeria, FG targets 150 billion naira annual revenue from livestock exports. CBN posts $6.83 billion surplus in 2024. That story is on page 21. Ademola.
Okay, thank you, Victor. I have the Nation newspaper with me, and just above the nameplate, we have the Nadi NLC Apapa battle for grip of LP with Abure. Details on page 4. Edo seeks intra-Africa trade to survive tariff regimes. We have the details on page 2. NGX Group approves 4.4 billion naira dividends for shareholders. Now, just below the nameplates, the major headline reads, Return of Naira for crude deal raises stable petrol price hope. Policy now permanent for energy security, ends to reliance on forex in domestic market. Details of that story is on page 2. Then I move on to the Leadership newspaper. The Leadership newspaper, we have the same, just above the nameplate, LP crisis also, which was mentioned earlier. Just below, we have new e-visa system set for launch May 1st. Details on page 7. Global recession looms as trade war escalates. Details of that story can be found on page 4. APC is still my party, Buhari tells governors. Details of that story can be found on page 34. Thunderstorm kills 5 in Imo. Details on page 30. 125 die in nightclub roof collapse in Dominican Republic. Details of that story can be found on page 6. Chooks.
Yeah, thank you, Demola. Let's quickly just mention this. Labour Party crisis deepening. Party splits into 3 factions, as if 2 were not too many. They really are bent on tearing themselves apart there. So the question you ask is, when are they going to come together so they prepare for 2027? The way things are going, the future may seem bleak over there. Return of crude for oil deal raises stable petrol price help. This is good news to me I want to think it's good news to Nigerians as well.
Most Nigerians.
Because rumors were rife. Oh, government does not want to renew anymore through negotiation between NNPCL and the other oil concerns, because government feels that the price is dropping too much and that is affecting its revenue base. You know, it's setting a competition, so to speak, that took petrol down to 880. NNPCL, Dangote, and the other people were actually
860.
It got to 860. I never got lucky enough to go below, 880. So the impression was that, government was losing revenue. That's why this is happening. That is why it is not good to speculate. It is the same government coming out to say, no, it's a permanent thing for energy security. When you talk about energy security, it's not just that price stability is there for people. You also are talking about steady supply of a very important, national asset. So we are happy to hear that. Let's hope that the 960, 970 we see now on pumps would go back to the 880, 860 you just mentioned.
Probably still nosedive to probably 700.
Yeah, actually, I said I'm not an expert. That's why I just, from the journalist general knowledge, we just talk, then experts will come here and tell you the real thing. I think that by 2026, we might be looking at 750 or 700.
That's some expertise.
I don't know. That's speculative expertise. You're not going to kill me for this program. I've told you. Insecurity. Tackle poverty. Stop over scrutinizing defense budgets. Defense budgets would always be scrutinized. Oversight for the lawmakers must be done. But what they are saying is, bear in mind the situation on the ground, so that if we say that instead of 60 naira, we want to do this with 80 naira, it is not necessarily padding. Wartime takes a lot of money from a country. Boko Haram, ISWAP and the rest of them, Lukarawa and the rest, and the others, they may not have given us a war situation, but it's something close to that. That needs money to prosecute. It really does.
But there's nothing wrong with scrutiny, if you ask me.
No, we said that. We said oversight must always be done.
Before the National Assembly, refuses to approve a thing, they look at the previous budget they gave you.
How did you spend it? Of course, that's
and so if they can't find justification, you don't want them to give you more.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you can't stop scrutiny. It will happen.
No. We started by saying that oversight must be carried out by the lawmakers, but they are implying, because of the situation, you may need to not dot all the I's and cross all the T's. In this matter. Recession looms as trade war escalates. What percentage is going to the Chinese now? 125.
Well, China is fighting back.
They say they are fighting to the end.
And
China imposes 84%.
Exactly.
And Trump retaliates with 125%.
They are saying that if Trump comes again, they say they are taking it to a bitter end. They are so clear about it. I think Trump is going to find a way of, getting them to talk to him or talk with America over these matters. It's just that it's going to be a face-saving thing for him, because he didn't expect this level of pushback from the world at large. The EU has also come out with their retaliatory tariffs as well. It's only the Solomonic and the diplomatic London that is still 10%. Let's see how it goes. You know the British, how they are. Well, how shrewd they are when it comes to diplomacy.
At the end of the day, perhaps the U.S. will find out, like we say in local parlance, when a man cooks for the community.
The community finishes it within 2 minutes.
And when the community cooks for the individual,
for
because
one man.
those who,
bust.
some countries see opportunity in all of this. For instance, China becomes too expensive to do business with the U.S. from they move to India, for instance. India will be waiting to receive and build its own economy.
That's what happens. The minister Finance is saying African inter-Africa trade should take advantage of what's happening from Washington, D.C. And I think that is how it should be. We didn't need to wait for Trump tariffs to actually take Africa trade, inter-Africa trade, to the apogee. I remember my history master in school was always talking about apogee, you know. Take it to the top, the very top of it. You start from home before you engage people from outside. It cements relationships. So I like the way this thing is going. Let them reorder the world. The situation where the nominal GDP of the world, 26% of it, is held by one country, United States of America. The entire world, 26%, they have it. I don't think it augurs very well.
It's the way they've built their economy. American economy is probably around the $20 trillion mark. That large. China's is probably around half.
No, China is above China is about 18% or so. Yes, I've been reading about
not that close. Not that close.
It's 18% nominal GDP. So let's see how it all goes. But at the end of the day, we should remember that somebody said on the BBC yesterday that Trump does not quite understand how global trade works. It's not a do me, I do you. There are certain things that would not be to your favor in terms of trade surpluses and, you know. But when you look at the general services coming from those people to you, you know that they are a better option for you. It's like making clothes. Bangladesh, Vietnam, they make most of the clothes that go to the UK and the rest of them. And they'll tell you that the labor over there is cheaper than the labor you will need to compensate for in the UK or the US. So they tell you it's cheaper to produce in India, or these are some of the considerations that go into it.
So perhaps
well,
Trump
at least
should,
I passed my
perhaps Trump should begin to think about, making it more business friendly for. Because you want to wonder, why will American businesses go and produce in China of all places?
It's cheap
because it's cheaper for them to produce from there. So if you make it easier or cheaper for them to work from home, why not? Why wouldn't they work from home? These are American businesses.
They call it cheap. It's cheaper there. But the Chinese, whom they employ, actually feel they are getting good money. It's just like $200 coming into Victor's pocket, and he starts running around Abuja metropolis, thinking he has money.
I'm not that cheap.
Let him go to the US, and they will know that $200 is nothing. But in Nigeria, you start thinking of a foundation for a 2-room. This is Naira. You don't get power again at all.
Somebody was saying something recently, and I totally disagree with that person. But don't let me say it because it's very controversial.
Okay.
He was saying something like, with $1 you can eat comfortably here, and in America you cannot eat with $1. So why are Nigerians crying? I said, does he know what is happening? How much is $1 to?
That's a presidential aid. I heard it.
I mean,
okay, we don't want to mention.
Yes, because it's so insane.
And I remember the arguments he was making when he was on the other side.
It was not. That's not reasonable at all. I was just
even
thinking.
in Naira terms, a dollar doesn't cut it. A dollar doesn't cut a loaf of bread. It's more than that.
Because if you say you can eat $1 here, can you eat with $1 over there?
No, it's not. You don't make that kind of parity.
No,
because the situation in that country
is quite different.
Exactly, it's easier for you to earn money, earn dollars in the US than it is now for you to earn even the Naira that cannot buy much. That's the point. You have to consider everything before you begin to
make such an insightful statement.
Exactly.
Anyway, well, thank you, Chooks,
the finance expert.
Yes.
But I wanted us to talk about this e-visa system, but okay. So let's talk about this new e-visa system set for launch May 1st.
Let me start by saying that my friend in Missouri, Maryland, is now happy that he can get the Nigerian passport easily. You know, I don't think I need to begin to talk about whether I was an APC supporter or during the elections. I think that's a broken record. It's not necessary anymore. But one thing I like Tinubu for is that he employs people who tend to have what it takes to deliver. The internal, what do you call it? The interior man is a man I really praise. Anytime I run into him here, I have a way of going beyond his tall, dark, and handsome profile to efficiency. I tell him that. I hope I'm not beginning to sound like a sycophant to him. I'm not one. The passport is now easily...
You said sycophant, I mean?
Sycophant.
That's how you pronounce it.
No, that's what it is.
That's what it is.
You'll be given two alternatives by Daniel Jones, but the one that has wider currency
is sycophant.
Is sycophant, not sycophant. Sycophant is a second option. Go to your 18th edition of the pronouncing dictionary. You'll be further taught, or you do the Oxford on your Google. Yes.
You said my minister is tall, dark, and
handsome. I think he is. Are you jealous?
Don't change his physique.
He's taller than me. Come on. You want us to go to court after this? But
in any case, the new e-visa was introduced to the public some 2 weeks ago, thereabouts.
Yes.
Yesterday's event wasn't about, the launch of the e-visa, a bit about it, but more about the fact that two ministries can collaborate. They were not being territorial. They weren't looking for whose job it is. No, it's my area, it's not my area. They were rather coming together. Aviation and interior meet at some point, at the immigration point, at the airports and all of that. So they are working together just for the common goal.
Victor, do you know what you're talking about? You're saying that this country should have a common database. That's the ultimate. Telling me that the National Population Commission has its own, it doesn't cut it at all. Where I was going concerning the passport is that my friend in Missouri has now easily obtained his passport. So I started from the passport to go to the e-visa. E-visa means that you can stay in the comfort of your home and get things done, and no intermediary is going to ask you for money that you shouldn't pay. This is, part of how you fight corruption is making it impossible for the system to be compromised. If they don't see you, how could they ask you for something extra?
That is it.
So you institutionalize the process and make it difficult for the criminally minded to exploit
you reduce
the
that
situation.
interface.
And it also enhances national security. It helps accountability. Foreigners can just stay in this country, and whenever they overstay what was issued to them, and whenever they want to go, they just walk away. But now
the system will pop up.
Now the system will have to ask you. They will ask you for exit cards, which you must have applied for. Before that time, you must present it. By the time you are presenting it, they look at when you came in, when you are supposed to leave. Have you left late? If you have, well, you can't just leave like that. You're not going to board. That's what the minister was talking about. You're not going to board. They refer you to immigration, who will now determine how much offense you have committed and say, okay, we're either fining you whatever amount depending on how long you have overstayed or what you have done, or they blacklist you. You will never be able to come into Nigeria.
I'll talk to Wada. You should be the newspaper reviewer. That was juicy.
Okay, what about these... Okay, thunderstorm kills 5 in Imo. The rains are coming.
Let me start from a positive note. We had the first real rain last night. We slept well. In fact, I found out that all the hue and cry about my temperature gauge, that's in my car, rising, rather alarmingly. It was the surrounding temperature that was actually shooting it up, even before you kick the engine. Don't laugh, gentlemen. The needle dropped since yesterday because the environment is I am not joking. So let me start on a positive note. It is good for us there. It is unfortunate over there for our brothers in Imo. Nature is one force you cannot stop.
All right, Chooks, thank you so much.
Somebody was trying to tell us that his vehicle had high BP.
Chooks, thank you so much for today. All right, we have to just draw the curtain now.
No weapons fashioned against me shall prosper.
We'll take a break now. The conversation will continue. We'll start off after the break. Stay with us.
Hey Nigeria, ready to breathe cleaner air and save money? Let's talk about gas. Drive with CNG, the smart, cost-effective choice. Fill up for less and travel further. Save money, save the planet. Switch to LPG for cooking. It's cleaner, healthier, and better for environment. Say goodbye to smoke and eye problems. Do you know Nigeria is a gas nation ranked 9th globally with over 209 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve? Gas isn't just for cooking and driving. It powers industries too. Cleaner, cheaper, and more efficient. And the best part, conversion centers are popping up everywhere. It's never been easier to switch to gas. Join the cleaner energy revolution. Choose LPG for cooking and CNG for your vehicles. Clean energy for brighter future. This message is brought to you by the Office of the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, supported by the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA.
The new Happic sachets. It has a thick formula, so all you need is just one sachet for your toilet bowl. It gives 10 times better cleaning and big savings too.
Wow, Helen!
Sparkling clean toilet with Happic sachet.
The Nigeria coat of arms is the official seal that represents the authority of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, hung on the wall behind the seat of the principal officer of the government, supported by the portrait of the serving President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It has 7 features. The black shield stands for Good Earth of Nigeria. The silver wavy band stands for the confluence of rivers Niger and Benue. The 2 white horses stands for dignity. The yellow flora is a common wildflower throughout Nigeria. The red eagle stands for strength. The wreath is in our national colors of green, white, green. The motto, unity and faith, peace and progress, is written on a beautiful yellow ribbon, and it's a maxim for all Nigerians. Be a real Nigerian.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, we turn dark into light, we make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Ethnicity is unique, we are more than just a nation.
We are Nigeria, strengthening unity, we know they carry lives. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Welcome to Silver Oasis.
Silver Oasis, a TV series dedicated to aging and older persons in Nigeria. Be part of this series and discover the transformative programs crafted to give a new lease of life to our senior citizens, courtesy of the National Senior Citizen Center.
The National Senior Citizen Center is the oasis for the senior citizens.
For thought-provoking discussions on aging, geriatric social care, and issues that matter most to our senior citizens.
Silver Oasis.
Silver Oasis.
Silver Oasis.
Tune in to Silver Oasis on the network service of the NGA every Saturday at 10:05 p.m. Silver Oasis, improving the quality of lives of senior citizens.
right, you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And just before we bring in our guests for our conversation on the NIPR Spokespersons Summit, let's take this background report put together by Ibrahim Belogunda.
Nigeria's Spokespersons Summit is a capacity-building program of the National Institute of Public Relations aimed at instilling decorum in the country's communications ecosystem. The Nigeria Spokespersons Summit is Nigeria's leading platform for spokespersons across the public, private, and civil society sectors. Convened by the National Institute of Public Relations (NIPR), the summit is designed to empower communication professionals with the tools to craft compelling messages, manage public expectations, and shape narratives that promote good governance, economic progress, and national unity. The second in the series, the NIPR Spokespersons Summit, is dedicated to strengthening the capacity of spokespersons and advancing leadership communication, offering deeper insight and exposure to global best practices in reputation management, crisis communication, and strategic messaging. The 4-day summit is expected to be attended by spokespersons and public relations professionals, government and public communication officers, media executives, journalists, and policymakers. Others are legislators, public affairs analysts, industry leaders, academia, among others, with the theme, Integrity and Evolving Roles of Spokespersons in Leadership Communication. How impactful will the summit be in shaping Nigeria's communication ecosystem? How will it strengthen the capacity of spokespersons? And what are the expectations of stakeholders? These and more will be questions guests on Good Morning Nigeria will find answers to on the program.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim Belogunda, for that background report. And we already have our guest in the studio for the discussion. And let me just introduce the acting chairman, National Planning Committee of the Spokespersons Second Annual Summit, Dr. Muhammad Kudu Abubakar. Damasini, you are welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much, and for having us. And it's an environment that is very familiar.
Familiar terrain.
Yes,
so you're welcome.
Thank you.
Also joining us via Zoom, we have that is Comfort Obot Nwako, Chairman, Lagos Chamber of NIPR. Comfort, you are welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
All right, we have also been joined on the program by Stanley Ogadigo, Director of Public Relations at NIPR and Secretary, National Planning Committee. Pleasure to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much, our hosts. Good morning, Nigeria, and good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Stanley. All right, let's kickstart our conversation by looking at the theme of the event, which is Integrity, Evolving Roles of Spokesperson in Leadership Communication. How do you define integrity in the context of leadership communications, and why is it so important or effective for a spokesperson?
You just nailed the entire thing. Why is it important to spokespersons? Integrity is key in everything you do. Talk less of a spokesperson. A spokesperson is supposed to represent an organization or a unit or conglomerate that he represents. He is supposed to be the personification of that organization. If that person exudes the positives, of course the organization will be seen by the publics as positive. If he exudes or his attributes are negatives, of course that organization will be seen through the negative eyes. So what that means is integrity is key. And integrity entails so many things. There will be reputation, there will be doing the right thing, being correct, being, totality of it is integrity. So what it means is that in communication or leadership communication, in fact, that theme that you just reeled out, it is actually evolving roles, integrity and evolving roles of spokespersons in leadership communication and development.
Okay.
We have added development because we felt that it is not just leadership communication alone. Leadership communication should lead us to somewhere. And we said development should be added. And maybe you were reading our earlier communication to your organization. So you now see we are in a climb, in a period whereby everything should lead us to development. Whether it's development in terms of social strata, economy, education, the population itself, and everything. So we are saying the spokespersons who represent organizations should be the one who will lead in leadership communication, in communicating to their publics, in communicating to their customers, in communicating to their clients, so that at the end of the day, the overall totality of the production or activities of organization or the entire nation itself will lead to development.
All right. Thank you very much, Mohammed, for your opening remarks. Let me get to Stanley Ogadigo now. I'd like to ask what distinguishes this summit from last year, from the first edition, and what the key objectives driving the 2025 events are.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I get to your question, let me quickly add to what my colleague has said about integrity and communication. Well, integrity actually is one of the core values of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. And then integrity also is a key element in communication. And today, we are not seeing more of that in our public communications. So, it's also part of why we're organizing, or the initiative itself, Nigeria Spokesperson Summit, was bettered. It's part of teaching those who man the reputation gates of the country on integrity, the need, the value of integrity in communication. So I thank you, Dr. Abubakar, for speaking to that. We'll still come to that later. But we are talking about the difference between what happened last year and this and what we're expecting. Well, Nigeria Spokesperson Summit is an initiative of the Institute to ensure that those who are already practicing, especially our members, are equipped with the necessary tools to be able to discharge very professionally on their duty posts. Now, last year, it was the maiden edition. Fantastic. It was so interesting. And we're also glad that one of you, the Professor Tony Radia, did justice as a keynote speaker. Yeah. Until tomorrow, the echoes of his presentation are still reverberating in our minds. So this year, I just want to highlight one or two areas that are making it more exciting. This year, we are going to have what we call Information Ministerial Clinic. What is it all about? It's all about bringing all about 6 former ministers of information who have served with the current Minister of Information sitting down as the chairman to relay their ideas, to share their ideas on what and how they manage their portfolios while managing public communication while in office. This is very, very essential aspect of this, because at times you learn not from the books alone, but from those who have seen it all, those who were there before, and it's an opportunity for all attendees to ask some relevant questions. Till tomorrow, some people are still saying, oh, when this person was a minister, why did he do this? Why did he do? It's now a platform for us to interrogate. Okay, you did this thing unprofessionally. Why? The minister should be able to tell you the circumstances that were responsible for him to have acted the way he did. And if for any reason it's wrong, then some of the professionals who are also there will interrogate it, and then will know and establish that it's there. So bringing all the former, most of the former ministers together on a platform to share their experiences is something that is worth while. Then another interesting aspect of it is that history is going to be made. For over 60 years the Institute has existed, but it's this year, the second edition of the Nigeria Spokesperson Summit, that we are going to unveil what we call the charter. There's going to be a spokesperson's charter and practice code. The whole essence is that you do not just charge people to work, but you also equip them with the tool with which to work. So arising from last year's, because I had wanted to say it's a building block.
Okay.
So we are not, in NIPR, we are very organized.
It's a continuation.
It's a yes. So we are very deliberate. We are very deliberate in everything we do. So last year was the maiden edition. So we are building from the feedbacks of last year, and one of which was, it was agreed at the last year's summit that there should be guiding principles. There should be a document that whoever becomes a spokesperson should be handed over, so that it will
by who?
Be by the NIPR and other stakeholders, sister organizations, NUJ, NGE, the Guild of Editors, BON, and the whole of communication ecosystem. They have come together, of course, spearheaded and championed by the NIPR. But in NIPR, we are very inclusive. We don't do things in isolation, because we are living in a society where you are not an island. So the council, in its wisdom, has decided to come up with this charter, and then circulated across the sister organizations. As we speak, all of them have signed in that this actually reflects what we could say, yes, this should be a guiding
Is the charter
principle.
ready?
Very, very ready.
In putting together this charter, did you consider all manner of pressures? Because if you are a political appointee, for instance, you know who's bidding you do. You know, beside being professional, there are pressures. This is not strange to you.
Yeah.
And indeed, in every office you occupy as a spokesperson, you are a spokesperson for an organization, for an individual. They tell you, speak this for me. Did you consider all of these pressures?
I'm happy you're asking this question. The job of public relations officer is not job for the boys. And this is one of the things we are trying to correct. It's a profession that has everything to do with development. And it's not about, like you said, oh, somebody appointed you, you do the bidding of the person. We have seen all this, but they are not professional. A professional public relations officer or manager will look face to face to his boss and tell you, sir, with all due humility, I don't think we should go this way. So it's part of what we are bringing on board to say, look, enough of all this. Yeah, we understand that many of them have been appointed erroneously by their chief executives or those that appointed them. Now we're not saying, okay, no problems. We are not people who do not, who are not sensitive to the environment. But no problem, you have been appointed. But come, we can also teach you to be professional. Okay. One of the things we don't do in this country, and it's wrong, is we do not know when to call it a quit. If you're a sound professional and I am hired by my boss, the first and foremost, I should consider the entirety of the society. Because if that society does not exist, then there is no me, there is no organization, there is no, my principal has no stake anywhere. So first and foremost, what we are trying to achieve with this is to tell the reputation managers of the nation across various strata that one, there must be a Nigeria before you have a CBN, before you have an NNPC, before you have an NTA, before you have an NIPR, there must be a Nigeria. So if you have that at the back of your mind, then you should be able to know that, look, the interest of the country first, and you must, as a professional, tie whatever you are doing to the interest of the country. And that is where we are going. And lastly, before maybe you take to the next person, is that the contribution of every organization, in every individual in Nigeria, add to the reputation of the country. The contributions of every single entity, every single parastatal organization also add to the reputation of the country. And that is why the Institute is seeing it as a necessity for us to ensure that those who man the reputation gates of the nation are properly trained. Because our aim is not about individual organization. Our aim is the country's reputation. As we speak now, we are not too happy with the way the reputation of the country is. So our intention is to ensure that Nigeria plays very, very active when it comes to, or prominently, when it comes to global reputation.
Okay.
And guess what? Reputation is everything.
Reputation
Once you
is
get
everything.
reputation right, man, Americas of this world, United Kingdoms of this world will come with their foreign investment without begging.
Just a little clarification. Our aim is not just Nigeria alone. It is from the minute enclave to the organization, to the individual, and to the larger Nigeria. So, and that is why within the NIPR, you have reputation managers or public relations officers or consultants or professionals who work for individual organizations, who work for conglomerates, who work for the entire country. Because we are going to have members who will be led by commissioners of information from across the country, leading their team or delegation from their states to come to Abuja as participants. So you can see it's not just the issue of only Nigeria, it is also the various states, the various geopolitical zones, and the larger Nigeria. So the whole thing is this: we are trying to bring together everybody that has something to do with reputation management, with public relations management, with the reputation of organizations or the entire country or the states. And what to just quickly add to the issue about, you said whether we consider the pressures that individuals go through, individual professional PR persons go through in doing the bidding of their sponsors or their employees. Exactly. Of course we do. And this charter will be unveiled by our special guest of honor, who happens to be the #1 spokesperson for the largest parliament, I think, in the whole world. Because the Speaker of the House of Representatives represents the 360 members, and we think is one of the largest, if not the largest, parliament in the world. So we say he is the #1 spokesperson, and he is going to unveil that charter. And every participant will be given a copy. So at that ministerial clinic, and even within the various syndicates of the summit, this charter will also be interrogated. Because you already have copies, you look at the various provisions or guidelines or regulations we have put in place, and you will interrogate it and come up with better ideas. So what this summit will do will not just look at this charter itself. We will also use this summit to look at what we can add, so that next year when we're planning for the 3rd Nigeria Spokesperson Summit, it will be an enriched from not just the 2024, but the 2025.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Abubakar. Now let's bring in our Zoom guest, Comfort. Here at the studio, I mean, some issues have been raised: the issue of reputation, the issue of unprofessionalism, that takes us back to the theme, which is integrity. Now, when Stanley was speaking, he said some of the ministers are going to be asked a question: why do you do some certain things unprofessionally when you were in office? Now, how can a spokesperson, balance the need to present a positive image with the importance of transparency and honesty in their communication?
Thank you very much. And what stands the profession out is the pushing up of truth. It's very, very difficult to own up when things get bad, and especially when crisis comes. But that's not what public relations teaches. If we want to maintain a very good reputation, when it is time to be vulnerable, you get there. But when they know that messages are well crafted and it is meant to promote, to shape that narrative that will promote good governance, economic progress, and of course, national unity. You liken it to the Bible. When we read it, we do not just read the good things that maybe the prophets or people that lived before us had done. We see their weaknesses and we see their strengths. We are able to build on it so that we make less mistakes. And that's exactly what public relation does. And so in this case, when we are building on reputation, we are trying to make the spokesperson, each time they speak, in average Nigerians or globally will say, yes, want to reason because he has the reputation of saying the truth and at all times. And so this lies the basis of building this up. And you don't just rise to speak. It is a planned system. It is a planned avenue where you have done your homework correctly over time. And so it builds. So we are not just sitting there to criticize what is not done right or what should have been. We are coming in there to say, this is how it should be done. And please align with this. And let's have a greater reputation where a Nigerian speaks, where a spokesperson speaks for an organization, you want to believe because he has that reputation of saying the truth, no matter the situation, be it in crisis, be it in good times, he is saying what ought to be. And of course, sometimes we'll see that you can be guilty or you may not be guilty, but your approach and your words to what you say makes you guilty. So the Institute is coming up to craft, to help these people craft messages that will help, that will lead to a better outcome for this country. And that is why we want to strengthen the capacity of spokesperson so that we can advance the leadership communication.
All right, thank you very much, Comfort, but I'd like to stay with you. Just give us an idea what unique challenges spokespersons, of course, Lagos is seen as the hub of spokespersons in Nigeria. So what unique challenges, in your experience, do spokespersons face in Lagos, and how do they manage to navigate it?
Good. Again, even for the chapter, capacity building has always been it. We'll try to up the tools to help the members to rise to the occasion. And you have seen since the present administration and council came in force, we have seen so many changes. We are not just going there to picket or to fight, because we build relationship and bridges. We'll bring these people together. This is the way it ought to be. And for us in Lagos, we have been trying our best, moving it, having this capacity building, making them tools so that each and every spokesperson knows what it ought to do at a particular time. It's not just in speaking. Is in building that capacity over time so that you have the confidence also to approach when you set out things to your organization, definitely, and it comes out well, they will align next time you bring out whatever ideas that you want to give to the organization. And so in Lagos, we have been doing that. We We often write to organizations. We often have several stakeholders meeting from public sector to private sector, and even all the other people that you think they how to messages. They want to know how to build relationships. We want to know how the stakeholders can be brought together so that everyone at each time is aligning to what it is. If you look at this state government, for instance, we have most of the public affairs people aligned. They are public relation people, and they get their training on a regular basis so that they are able to push out those narratives that the government does. And you can see it in all social media, in whatever print form that you want to see. That is part of what we are pushing. For the spokesperson, be it for local government and be it for the state, as it were.
Okay, thank you very much, Comfort, for that. Not just in speaking, but in building capacity over a period of time. That is well noted. Let's get back to the studio now. Stanley, I want to ask you, because I know that a lot of our viewers are wondering that, okay, what's this NIPR, what is it all about? What do they do, and what are their functions? Now, how do you help an ordinary person that wants to probably be a spokesperson? What I mean is, what skills and qualities, you understand, are essential for a successful spokesperson? Just like what he said, he's not just speaking, but he's building capacity. So what skills and qualities are essential for a successful spokesperson, and how can they be developed?
Okay, thank you very much. The Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR, of course, I know that you know, but for the sake of Nigerians who may not know, is the only institute chartered by law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to regulate the practice of public relations in both private and public sectors. Now, a lot is entailed in this. This takes me, before coming back again, to the issue that she raised online. Now, we are talking about integrity, and then managing the perception of what is happening in your organization and all that. The problem we have as a people, I mean in our continent, in the country, is that we solve the problem not from the root, but we just cut the grass from the surface. Now, who is a public relations officer? What is the public relations profession stands for? And I want to say that is both arts and science, meaning that it's something you master. You have to have a mastery of what the industry is all about. And the science, because it's done methodologically. These are the two things we are missing out when we are talking about appointment of spokespersons in the country. Now, you can't get it right if what you see as public relations is, oh, Dr. Kudu Abubakar has a very good voice when he sits down to cast news on NTA. Is it appoint him as my spokesperson? That is not it. That is broadcasting.
It's different.
It's different. It's not the same thing again as somebody who has a mastery of the communication skills. Again, what our leaders look at today is, oh, Stanley is very good, an orator. You stand to moderate an event. Oh, wonderful. Just the oratory. Only the oratory cannot give you all you need as a public relations officer. So I think we need to start getting deeper into who do we appoint as a public relations officer, first and foremost. And I want to say that a public relations officer is that person who has the skill, interpersonal skill, a sound skill, communication skill. And when you talk about sound communication skill, it's not all about casting news, it's not all about being an orator, but it's writing. Yes, I have seen many who have been appointed because they work in a Punch, Vanguard, or they wrote beautiful features, and that is not public.
Well, this is what you see. You move from the known to the unknown.
Yes.
You don't see those inner things you're talking about.
And that is why we are now coming as a profession, that we have really, really come to discover that even our leaders do not even know what to look out for when you are talking about a public relations officer. As a director of public relations, I may not even need to come to the NTA for 1 year, 2 years. But the institute will be very top in terms of reputation. I'll be managing it from the background. What is more important is what we call strategic communication.
Okay.
And then this ignorance on the part of our leaders, I'm sorry, that is the reality for today, has led us to appoint and make the public relations work to be job for the boys. You want to settle somebody, you say, okay, go and become director of PR. You want to, no. And they have bastardized. I mean, those that have been appointed on that basis have bastardized the profession. And that is why the current council is taking the pains to really see what we can do to even enlighten Nigerians and the world on what public relations is. Now I give an example. As a director of public relations, I am privileged. Well, not really a privilege. It's because the president, chairman of governing council, is a public relations person, and he understands the workings of the profession. As a director of public relations, one of the first things he did was to ensure that I am on the council meetings every time. Council meeting is supposed to be specifically for council affairs. Council members, the 22 council members exclusively. But he has said, no, as a director of public relations, if I'm not there, how do I do the work? And that is the problem we have when you now start seeing people rushing to media to say they want to mitigate, they want to do this. So I am involved even in the policy making, and I am there as a director of public relations to give perspective to issues of the publics that we have. So whatever decision the council is making, mine is there to represent both the NIPR and the entire publics across the spheres. So it's very difficult for us to now have a situation where I should be running to AIT, NTA channels to say, oh, sorry, this is, it's difficult. The reason is simple. I am part of it, and then it's strategically planned. Then you now deploy the communication in such a way that it really makes impact.
You know what you've just said now, is one of the major challenges that we are facing concerning probably maybe government policies and programs that are not being well communicated to the public, because the skills and the qualities of the spokesperson is not there. There is no input, and the message is not properly passed across to the populace. Now that you are speaking, because these skills and qualities are actually very, very vital, to solve some of the problems that we are facing in this country. So how do we begin to change that perception now?
Yeah, before I even come to the skills, it is good we build the background. You cannot be speaking effectively on an issue you are not even part of in the first place. Yeah. Something has happened, it's a fundamental policy issue. You were not there when the policy started. You are not even carried along by your CEOs and all that. Then they just say, okay, director press or director PR, just go and do the magic. Public relations is not magic. It's a strategic communication that is planned towards development. And you must be intentional about it. These are the things I'm trying to bring out, that we're not intentional in the appointment. So that is why we are bringing people that we're not coming to retrain. So we're not coming into that gradually. But I want the leaders across sectors, across strata, to understand that please, there is an institute that is in charge of reputation in both private and public sector. Can we get to a position or a situation where if, for example, NTA wants to appoint a director of public relations, there's nothing wrong writing to the president, chairman of governing council, I need help in this. We don't need to give you, even from your own system, we can profile our members who are here and say, look, among these three, take one. And then that is when we will now be responsible, because we have looked, we have researched, we have seen your participation, we have seen your character, we have seen your competence and everything that are required for that job. Then the DG takes one and we come with institutional support for that person. And I tell you, if that mechanism is in place, the NIPR will also ensure that when you are not living up to expectation, we will, even before the DG notices it, we will flag it. That, look, you're not doing well, we'll train and retrain, you're not doing well, okay, sorry, we can't, our reputation is at stake. We'll replace you
Yes,
with another.
In a nutshell, what Stanley is saying is brings us back to the theme of the second Nigeria Spokesperson Summit. We said integrity and evolving roles of spokespersons and leadership communication and development. Before now, before we got to this present stage, Stanley gave us a scenario whereby it was PR or public affairs was an all-comers game. But this present council, in fact, from the last council to the present, have been arguing for the elevation of the public relation function from not just managerial function, but a leadership function. And what that means is that the public relations person should be within the leadership of that organization. Even if he is not, like his director of protocol to the NIPR, he is not a council member, but he's privileged to be part of the council meetings. What that means, he has the background knowledge of every issue that is discussed up to the time it becomes policy. If we do that to all organizations, the PR manager may not necessarily be a member of the executive. For example, let's use NTA. The PR manager may not necessarily be an executive director who should be at that top management, but let him be, if you like, just being listening, part of the listening of the arguments and all that. So when he comes to defend NTA or defend CBN or defend FEMA, or for example, he is in a better position.
He's
to
talking from the angle of
knowledge, exactly. And he is in a better, because he is already trained as a communicator and a strategic communicator for that matter. He now knows how to spin, he will spin, or what headlines he will now be able to talk to his fellow journalists to cast for him, or in the case of broadcasts, to lead on. And from there, you now see that it will be his job is almost done, in the sense that his level and capacity to mitigate and bring about public perception of that organization will be very high.
How did the committee arrive at this theme? Just a moment, please. How did the committee arrive at this theme, and why is it more important at this time?
Well, Stanley had alluded to that. The committee arrived at this theme as arising from the discussions, the recommendations, the resolutions of the first summit in 2024. Because we realized the first summit was talking about spokesperson summit for communication or whatever. And at that meeting and at that summit, one of the recommendations was, you cannot tell us to do ABC, or you find us wanting when you don't bring about a document that can be a guide and a regulation for us. So this charter will do that, will guide the practitioners, and also be a regulatory, if you like, document. And that is why he has already told us that all the stakeholders, Nigeria Guild of Editors, Nigerian Union of Journalists, the Marketing Practitioners Association, and several others have all endorsed the charter. What that means is not just an NIPR affair. NIPR is just taking the lead. So everybody has endorsed, and everybody will be in it.
Okay, you were going to say something.
Yes, I hope I heard correctly when you were talking about spinning. It's not part of. So maybe I just want to, on a lighter note.
No, spinning this time not in the negative form.
We are not even using it at all.
We're talking about framing.
Framing.
Okay,
Framing.
Yes, framing, exactly. Thank you very much. Well, let's go back to the issue he's talking about. Now, you ask the question, why is it now integrity? Apart from the knowledge or the study of the communication processes and all that, there are basic things a public relations officer should have. I don't want to say inborn. You can also learn them.
Okay.
One of them is integrity. Professor Kekechukwu, in one of our chapter trainings, I think last year, January, he was talking on the topic, do not lose your integrity on the job.
Yeah.
So, meaning that as a spokesperson, you are coming with the integrity.
Yes.
You should have a character. It's not a question of, oh, I just want to go there and wear a suit. I just want to go there and dress very decently and be admired and all that. There are some core values that you must have, which are lacking in today's public relations, those who were appointed erroneously. The public relations person must be a man of character. And if you're a man of character, you must guide what you say, what you do, and all that. Then now that takes me to what we call, we have gone beyond normal communication, strategic communication, to what we even call responsible communication. That is what we're now preaching at global level of communication. So, public
Just
relations.
like you say, responsible journalism.
Exactly. So public relations is not only a Nigerian profession; it's a global profession.
It is.
We are the Global Alliance, where that's 126 countries of the world. That is our highest professional district. So now, responsible communication is what we are preaching at that global level. And what is it all about? As a director of public relations, you should be responsible in your communication. It's not all about, that takes me again to the issue of balancing integrity and if your organization is doing something, how do you cover and all that. I give example. I am working in maybe transport industry, and then I have a factory that I'm a company that I'm managing, and for whatever reason, there is an accident and there's a victim. It's not in my character to say, no, my car or none of my fleet was involved in an accident and all that. Where you know that these things, we are living in a global village. Even if you are not living in a global village, for God's sake, you must be responsible. You must have character to say, look, yes, there was an accident. The issue is what caused the accident? How are you managing the crisis? How are you communicating to the families of these people? That is what we talk about, stakeholder management and all that. So you need to really be human. At times I look at public relations as a profession that is society inclined, development based. So it's not just a profession that, oh, I want to make money.
You must be human. You must have empathy.
You must have empathy.
Okay, Stanley, let's bring in comfort
and
now.
Sorry, before you go to comfort, some of the skills you are looking for are soft skills like human relations. You are going to be managing a whole lot of stakeholders. You must have, even if you are not born with it, you need to be trained to know how to relate with different strata of stakeholders. The way I relate with you in the media is not the same way I will relate with government relations. It's not the same way I'm going to relate with community. As we speak now, we have corporate social responsibility and sustainability. FCT is hosting us. I need to know how to manage the FCT that the indigenes.
So that's the skills we're talking about.
Skills, yeah.
Good.
You need to possess.
All right.
Skills.
Let's bring in comfort as well, so that at least we can have our own contribution to this discussion. Now, comfort. I mean, from the studio now, they raised the issue of core values, building trust, maintaining credibility. For the spokesperson need to do all that for the organization. So how do you begin to build trust? What advice will you give to, the people there, the spokesperson there, to build trust and credibility with their stakeholders?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, like we said, even in the Mexicans, it's a deliberate effort. If you decide that this is what you want to do, and you have seen that by so doing, it will bring good fortune, both to your reputation and that of your organization, then you have to make deliberate effort. Like the DPR said, it is not, okay, I want to look good at all times. It's a deliberate effort to say, I want to stand by the side of the truth. If issues come, you treat it responsibly, and then craft that narrative in a way. Sometimes we see when issues come, people rise up, they will say provocative words that might even say, is this all that was before now? And your reaction, you want to react to also hit back. But in public relations, you are taught to pull your narrative just the way it is. Say the way it is, leave all the other additions that people bring in. And so we really must look at it holistically. To say public relations, as it were, covers all aspects of life. And so when issues like this come, you are deliberate. And how do you do it? Like the DPR also said, sometimes it's not inborn. You learn over time to do things, and you cannot give what you do not have. And so you have to train. You have to have your tools. And to be able to do this, you need empowerment in the light of training, in the light of listening to narrative, in the light of storytelling, in the light of those who have faced it, practical demonstration, as you'll be seeing during the second Spokepersons Summit. They will come to tell you, yes, this is what happened. This is how I handled it. Some will even go as far as telling you that, if it were to be now, this is the way I would have done it. So you draw your conclusion. And like I said, when you see experiences, learn from experiences, you are about to draw conclusions on the way forward in doing the right thing. And that's what the essence of public relations, to build. And by the time you are building, people are watching, people are listening, and they will draw conclusions. When they see that you are always about truth, your reputation is coming up intact, then people will begin to believe you. And when they do, when you craft out all these messages, even for us as Nigerians, we are going somewhere.
If you just before we go on break, how important, I know Stanley has spoken a lot about the integrity of the spokesperson, but how important is the integrity of the organization to the job of a spokesperson? How important is it? How important is emotional intelligence in actualizing what you have set out to achieve?
Great. For any organization, and I think that recently most organizations are beginning to key into the importance of having public relations people around them, and in also bringing them to come up from the initial of to the policy level of the organization. And so when they do this, you are able to advise. You are able to make a lot of deliberate attempts in saying, oh, can we start off this way? Who are the stakeholders? Who do we please? Who do we want, for the organizations to rise? What are the things that is needed? You bring in all the units. Is it the marketing? Is it the equipment? In whatever form, you are taking it in store that relates. You are taking people into consideration that, okay, if I'm a manufacturer, I need to do the thing. I need to bring in equipment. My own source of doing whatever is done right, so that if mistake now comes, people will believe that it was a mistake. It was not a deliberate attempt. And so all this just does not just happen, PR, you come up, yes, I'm known. You build reputation very well before that it will rub off on your brand and you're able to. We will see the way it goes. Sometimes you are offered a brand, no, can I have this? I want to go with this brand, because they've been able over the years to build on that integrity, to build on that trust for you to say, yes, I can have this drink without really looking back, because I think they are good, not just one coming up. And so for every organization, for every individual, you need to start from the scratch to build it up using all the techniques that public relations provides, and then we'll get somewhere.
Certainly get somewhere, Comfort. Thank you very much. With that, at that point, we'll just take a break. And when we come back, the conversation will continue. Stay with us.
Well, creativity is so broad. I would say whatever it is that you're creative about, it takes a lot of practice before you become very good. So if it's something you intend to pursue, it's something you have to keep doing. You have to keep practicing. It's not going to be an overnight success, which a lot of people look for. But if it's something you're determined about, but the drawback rather, is that you need what is called staying power. While you're developing your creativity, you need to earn a living. So I know that's where the conflict usually comes in, especially with the hardship in the country and all that. But I think a lot of encouragement from the private sector to create incubator hubs. We've had some of those in tech. We need those across various sectors as well. Incubator hubs where these ideas can come in, be developed, be encouraged, be funded, and then we can expand it from there.
Content creation, while it may sometimes get a bad rap, I think it's actually very important, because we have to see ourselves. We have to see ourselves living our lives. We have to show and share our stories. I think that's very important. Now, the job after that is to be able to digitize those stories into something that can provide data and insights, that can ensure that we can be able to support whole-scale industry in these spaces, to ensure that the amount of money that each content creator is getting exceeds what is currently happening for many content creators. The same content creator who lives in Nigeria will be earning less than a content creator who's living in the US or the UK or Japan. And we've got to also bridge that gap, because most of that is being driven by the ability of the consumers to pay for those goods, and also the pricing that many of these platforms have. So I think this is not the job for the content creators and the young people. This is a job for people like myself in the ecosystem who can help support the right pricing, to advocate for the right policies, to support economic development for consumers who want to consume that information and that content. And even beyond content creation, we're seeing that many people are stepping in behind the camera. They are producers, editorial, they are graphic designers, they are in technology, but maybe not in front of the camera. And what we want to say is also, we need those people too. We need those stakeholders involved. And the job of many policymakers, DFIs, is to ensure that the strategic investments get there, the collaboration gets there, and we're deliberate in how we're saying we want to support innovation in our continent.
There's an age group where your brain function is at its maximum, and that's the age group we call the youth, isn't it? So we need the youth, the younger generation, who have the energy, the imagination to be equipped with the proper education, the proper tools, the proper encouragement, and then take what innovation they bring out and turn it into mainstream developmental ideas. So you find a lot of things that are invented by people in school or straight out of school. We need our patent laws to work so that they can earn a living from their imagination. Once the imagination is just for a one-year festival or an event, then it's not worth it. Somebody creates something, we need to get our patent laws to work, we need to enforce them, and then the private sector can use those patents to develop things and encourage more people to be more creative. Back in the days, yes, you had to be an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor. Today we have programmers, we have AI specialists, we have people that are doing ethics on genetics. Those things didn't exist 50 years ago. So there are new areas that need to be explored. The question really, apart from the parenting, does our educational curriculum cater for what the needs of the world will be in the next generation? Because our curriculum is dealing with the issues of the past. We need the government and the private sector to redo the entire educational curriculum to be forward-focused, not retroactive.
Thank you very much for staying with us. This is still Good Morning Nigeria, if you've just joined us. And we've been discussing the second edition of the Spokepersons Summit put together by the NIPR. And a lot of issues have been raised. But as we go into the final lap of this conversation, let me get Stanley talking about the event itself. Now, beyond attendance and numbers, what metrics or indications will help you determine if this year's summit has been successful by the end of it?
Okay, thank you very much. Just before that, I'd like to just throw a little light on what has been discussed before we came on break. Now, when you want to retain trust of your stakeholders, first and foremost, building integrity of any organization is dependent on 3 levels. 1, the integrity of the organization you are working for. 2, the integrity of the principal, who is the CEO. Then 3, the integrity of the person as the director of public relations. So you see why integrity, even in our team, is very, very key. Yeah. So as a public relations officer, you must have integrity, and then all your activities must be driven by integrity. And part of integrity is also telling people to do what you are doing, what you are saying. I hate it when people say, do what I say, but don't do what I do. That is not a PR person. The public relations officer must be seen to be walking the talk. You must be seen to be telling people this is where we are going, and they see you going there. And that is the problem. Some of the leaders will say, okay, well, this is the focus of this organization, whereas they are going the other way. And that is how it's difficult, and that is why it will be difficult for the public relations officer to build any trust with the stakeholders. So building the trust will warrant that the organization must be seen to be doing what it is telling people that is out to do. So it's the duty of the public relations officer, but that comes with a lot of courage and professionalism. Well, at the rounding session, we'll come to that.
How do you check the SSs of your members?
He hasn't even managed to respond to that.
No, you respond to that,
Yes.
but I just in continuation of what he just said now. Because, the other time you spoke about the fact that you monitor the activities of your members in various organizations, especially those that you have recommended.
Yes.
Now, how do you check their SSs?
Okay, it's part of what the code is going to help to do.
Okay.
You see, we're coming from somewhere. From last year, there was need because of the atmosphere was charged and people were, oh, this is lovely. We cannot just step out of this hall without. So we agreed, and this year, the charter is going to be unveiled.
Okay.
So it's going to be part of the mechanisms to really check because you now have what you to check to a guide that I can now hold you on to. Oh, Mr. Man, but you have a handbook.
Article so.
Yes, says this. You should not go. Then, secondly, apart from that, we actually have an act, and in the act of the NIPR, there are some disciplinary measures.
Okay.
The institute, in fact, up to tribunal, that the institute will have a tribunal that will try quackery and all that in collaboration with the Ministry of Justice. So we have a lot of provisions on how to check members who are erring and all that. So we have a lot of mechanisms. Then coming back to your issue.
Yes, I'm asking what metrics you will use to determine that the summit has been successful.
Okay, a lot. One, before now, we have also developed questionnaires. We have already developed feedback mechanisms from the registration to the point of the session, through the whole session to the end. We are deploying certain measures that give us some instant feedback. Oh, these areas people have done well. Oh, these areas you need to do well and all that. So we have at every point put some checks that will help us to know that, oh, this is interesting and this is not interesting. So at every interval, there's a feedback mechanism. We're not just gathering them to be a one-way directional training. No. As we train you, you tell us your needs and then assess even the organization. We are your regulator, but we are giving you open check to please let us know where we have not done well. The last one we score about 90-something% from organization, from the relevance of the topics, from the spokesperson, the resource persons, and from to the keynote speakers. All these things are deliberate. And then the answers we got were not surprising, because when you plan to succeed, when you see the success, you embrace it without surprise. So the same thing, the same mechanism we're going to apply this year. From registration, how are you being attended to, then to the relevance of the topics, the people that are coming to speak are the best in the industry, then what they're speaking on, and then as they're even speaking, there's also a mechanism for you to get instant feedback as they speak. Then after that, we also give you opportunity to send mails for you to, in the event that you are not able to respond to a lot of things, you still respond to us. We collate all those and then we run them. Then before we come up with, oh, we succeeded or we didn't succeed.
All right. Thank you.
And as
Good.
for, anyway, I don't know what
I was
we
going
want
to ask,
okay,
because
go ahead.
coordinating an event of this magnitude will come with some unique challenges.
Exactly.
So I'm asking what hurdles, whether logistical or operational, has the committee come face to face with ahead, in the run-up to this event?
Oh, well, I agree with you. It's not easy to coordinate this kind of a thing, but we are an intentional organization in the sense that we have a crop of professionals. In fact, the core slogan of NIPL is professionalism and excellence. So when you have a group of people who already imbibe that, you find out that whatever hurdles you are going to face will be minimized. And that is what it is. But the hurdles, of course, in everything you do, you must encounter hurdles. But how you
navigate them.
Exactly is the. So because we're dealing with individuals of course, who have already excelled. For example, let's talk about the Information Ministerial Clinic. It's not easy to bring all former ministers of information in one place. It's not easy to get them to even agree. It's not easy to get them to say, okay, I'll put aside everything that I'm going to do and because of you. But we were able to do that. And as we speak, we already have confirmations of, for example, Chief John Eniaodu, who was Minister of Culture and Tourism and Supervising Minister of Information between 1998 and 1999. He's going to be our chairman. And again, the keynote speaker is not just a veteran journalist.
No, sorry, Eden Duke.
Adam Duke is going to be our chairman. Yes, Adam Duke is the Minister of Tourism and Culture and Supervising Minister of Information, and he is the chairman. And then the keynote speaker is someone who is a veteran journalist who excelled, in the First Republic in his journalism career, and later was metamorphosed into a politician and even a former executive governor. I'm talking of Chief Olusegun Oshoba. Oshoba will come and will be the keynote speaker to the theme. So you now know that it is not just the former information ministers who will be there that we participants will be learning from, but we are also going to learn from a veteran. And to just run down the other ministers, former ministers who have already confirmed their presence, we have Chief Ekeobasi Mokelu, who was minister between 1998 and 1999, Professor Jerry Gana, who was minister between 1993 and 1995, and later came back to be a minister again in 2001, 2003. You have John Enya Owondo at 98, 99. You have Frank Nweke Jr., who is now Frank Nweke II. Officially, he is now Frank Nweke II.
Not junior.
Not junior, yeah. So he served between 2005 and 2007. We have Chief Labaran Maku, His Excellency Chief Labaran Maku, who was minister between 2010 and 2015, and he also served Nasarawa State as a deputy governor. We have, of course, the immediate past minister, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, who served 2015 to 2023. So you can see an array of scenarios will come up.
And the sitting minister will be there.
And the sitting minister will be the host and, of course, the chairman of that session. So there are an array of scenarios that you cannot just, you can't wait to listen to. You can't wait to watch. You can't wait to imbibe. We thank the NTA. NTA has already indicated commitment and support that all this will be shown live on not just NTA but AIT and including channels. So the channels television. So you see, in terms of organization, of course, we are doing coordinating. Of course, again, the commissioners of information across the state is also not a mean, but we have been having very, very positive responses. And the commissioners themselves, some of them have been calling Stanley as the DPR. Some of them call me directly. Some of them call the president directly. No, we are coming. Our governor has already approved to so delegates. And as we came in here, I even received a message of 10 delegates coming for a particular state. So you can see. So we are looking forward to a very robust.
Is it a free for all? Can I just walk in there?
If you are not a member of NIPR, can you participate? That's what he's saying. That's the question.
For the opening session, yes.
Okay.
You can come and listen. But after the opening session, where we will now go to the specifics, to the aspects of the training, certainly you just have to, one, a registered member, two, a paid up participant. And
for the
event in particular. And I'm talking of 4 sessions. And these 4 sessions are going to be addressed by very notable personalities. We're talking of, for example, the second day, we also have another keynote speaker, Professor Taiwo Oyedele, Chairman, Presidential Committee on Fiscal and Tax Reforms. So he's not just coming to talk about Nigerian economy, but he's going to paint a scenario after the tax reforms or with the tax reforms. What is the Nigerian economy going to look like? Because as a spokesperson, Stanley had alluded to that you are not just a spokesperson for your organization. There has to be a Nigeria first for you to defend or come up with, or
before you can even be a spokesperson
for that organization. Exactly. So you have to understand. And again, we are talking of globally. The American president coming up with so many tariffs on nations. So you can see the link between that at the global level and Nigeria. As the tax reforms, as the various tax reform acts are being implemented, what are the implications? what are the consequential effects, and how does it reverberate into various individual, corporate, conglomerate organizations. All this will be
okay.
will be
Thank you,
looked at.
Dr.
Yes.
Abubakar. Let's bring in comfort now. The guests have all reeled out so many things that are going to be done at the summit. Looking at the objectives, what advice will you give to the participants to take advantage, to really reap, from this summit?
Yeah. It's really, you said it. If I weren't a peer practitioner, I would want to be one. And so with all that has been reeled out, which are real, I want to encourage everyone. First, I want to encourage organizations to allow their spokesperson to be at this event, because it will be to their own credit. And for the spokespersons themselves, build your self-development, build capacity. Do not wait to be sponsored. A lot of times it's about us. It's about the future that we want to craft. And so make a deliberate effort to be in Abuja from Monday. And you'll be glad you did. NIPR don't just do events. We are deliberate. It's planned, and we sustain it. And we know that stakeholders definitely will benefit. The ripple reaction will be to the country, will come to organizations, and of course, our self-worth. So I want to encourage everyone, every spokesperson, and a would-be spokesperson, to try to key into this event, this summit, and you'll be glad that you did. For us in Lagos, we are getting prepared because we know the value and we crave for it. And I know most of the spokesperson from Lagos Axis will be in Abuja.
Thank you, Comfort. Just before we go, I just want to take this as my own takeaway. How is NIPR planning to ensure that the outcomes from this summit don't end on paper? Talking about the charter, I'm talking about the code of conduct. How do you intend to ensure that it becomes, it gets national action?
Okay, thank you very much. At every step we take, you see that we are very deliberate and intentional. The Speaker of the House of Representatives is going to unveil the code and the charter. That already is making a statement. So from there, we are going to ensure that by what you are holding, you shall be not judged per se, but you shall be measured. So the Institute is taking that very, very seriously. So we are waiting. It's also part of our expectation that this session is going to be very robust. It's like your former DG would say point blank. We are going to have it point blank ourselves. And that is why I agree with Dr. Mohamed Kudu Abubakar that it's not for everybody. After the opening ceremony, we go into the nitty-gritty of and that is where you now see professionals. We're going to have hard talks, frank talks, and point blank issues where we train.
And indeed, if I may just quickly add, Mr. Point
in 30 seconds.
Sorry.
will still be there, because he will be giving us a paper. I'm talking of Professor Tony Iradia, who will be talking about inclusive communication for managing diversity and national cohesion. So you can see it's something that will be spot on for all spokespersons.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad Kudu Abubakar, Acting Chairman, National Planning Committee. Thank you so much, Dan Masani himself.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on Good Morning Nigeria to tell us about this second summit of the NIPR. Also, I just want to thank Stanley Ogadigbo. He is the Director of Public Relations at NIPR and Secretary National Planning Committee. Thank you so much, Stanley.
while you are thanking me, let us thank NTA the more for all that they are doing in terms of participating and being a partner to this very noble initiative that will transform the reputation of the country.
Thank you for thanking us.
Thank you, sir.
And the last but not the least, joining us, the Vice Zone, Comfort Obot Nwako, Chairman, Lagos Chapter of NIPR. Thank you so much for your perspective. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you for all those that will make that deliberate effort to be in Abuja, the Spokepersons Summit.
Thank you. Well, that's our conversation for this morning. I am Ademola Adeoye. Do have a lovely day.
And I am Victor Azo. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a great day.